Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome in. Welcome in. So this is our third run through for doing some basically questions Q&As with Ayla and myself to run through anything that is web based, some tech stuff, some SEO stuff. Just give us a shout and we'll crack on and go through. So I am Michael. I'm the director of E2 Studios, and I basically support our clients go through some of their development needs. I have the support of my team, Matt, who's over here in the office today, who's also same as James waved, even though no one can see him. But yeah, he does a lot of our back end development. So a lot more of our complex coding, and he just enjoys that a lot. And then we also have Ayla that works on a lot of our graphics and social media elements, both internally and for some of our clients as well. So yeah, feel free. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to ask just in the comments section on whichever platform you are on, whether that's YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. And I think beforehand, Ayla does have some questions.
Yeah.
But if you want to introduce yourself first, Ayla, that'd be brilliant.
So I'm Illy. I handle the social media, I handle the graphics, and I make sure that these guys stick to your branding. I design things from scratch and pass it over to them. Let's see, we've already got a comment in on Facebook.
Don't click buttons. Don't click buttons.
Don't click buttons. Don't click buttons. Yeah, so I kind of handle all of the fancy, make it look good, and make sure it is to your client's needs. So today we are sticking kind of with the websites and SEO stuff because that seems to be what questions we get in most of all. We also have a lot of people asking us random things about basically anything to do with the digital realm. If we can answer them, we shall. If we can't, we do have experts that we can refer you to. So, are you ready to be grilled again, Mike?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
So let's start. So our last podcast we kind of ended with a loaded question, and we're going to start this one with our loaded question.
Oh, lovely.
Does content really drive traffic?
I feel we might have touched a little bit on this of both on the first session and the second session, and it's probably something that we'll carry on revisiting. Does content really drive traffic? Yes, that's why people keep doing content. So does content really drive traffic? I mean, it depends on the content. It needs to be good content. I think sometimes bad content can also drive a fair chunk of traffic. I think you once sent me a link to a dreadful car website, which is
so bad it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of nichely bringing in an audience. I'm not sure if people buy from it per se. But yeah, so content does drive traffic through a few different parts. Generally not naturally, unless you've just got people sharing things, and that inherently drives traffic. But you also get things like your SEO or your search engine optimization version of traffic as well, based on it. So Google's role within a search engine is to attempt to send people to a location that they feel is the right and adequate answer for their question or for their needs, whether it's for something localized or whether it's for something broader, whether it's for FAQs, whatever. So that's pretty much what it drives to do. Now, if your content has information that is extremely pertinent to a person or an individual, then the content is really important to make sure it's really clear what you can actually do. A lot of the ways to do this is things like FAQ systems, blog pages, service pages. If you think of things like Wikipedia parts, you've also just got different informational platforms for citations and anything else somewhere similar to that one. So yeah, inherently content does drive traffic. I mean, it's kind of an open question. If anyone wants to narrow that down any more, then you're more than welcome to ask away. But it does drive traffic, but it really depends on you, your website, your business, and what kind of audience you want to bring in. Because I could write loads of articles about scrambled egg recipes on our website, and it might, drive some traffic, but it's not the traffic I actually need. So that's the important part.
Yeah, and the thing is with content as well is you need to kind of everyone says have 4 pillars. Well, you can be 4 pillars, 4 main points, whatever you want to call it, but you want to have the 4 things that really matter to you in your business. So that's kind of like, what is your service? What problem are you solving for people?
Yeah.
You know, maybe you've got something fun that makes you stand out. There's so many possibilities that you need to make sure that all content follows those 4 things and are hitting those 4 things. Doesn't mean it has to hit all 4 at once, just it's something to structure any posts around. So, for instance, E3 Studios, we do specialised in custom coded websites and software development. We can even develop you plugins. So, what solution is that for people? Well, if you look at websites that are struggling to load, maybe they're not on the right platform, we come along and we go, right, this is what we can do. This is how we can make it faster. This is how we can make it work better for you and your business. There, we're solving the problem of having a website that isn't doing what you want it to do. So that's just one example. There's tons out there. Just take the time, think what 4 points are your main 4 sort of structure of your business, and try and tailor the content around that. It helps as well to come up with your ideal client, and that is something we can go into way down the line later on, because that's a whole different lecture in itself. And just try and speak to them on their level. That doesn't mean that you have to use all the fancy jargon. It just means you need to go, right, here's your problem, I have the solution. Now, that's kind of a brief overview of content. I think, as Mike says, and I agree, we're going to be constantly touching on this because it is one of the most asked questions, and there's loads of questions around content. However, we have a question from LinkedIn from Jonty. How do you ensure that the websites stay consistent across all the different browsers and form factors people may view them on?
I don't think you have to. I think that's the important part. You don't have to make sure that your website is consistent across every browser and platform. I mean, if we look at things like Facebook as an example, their phone version looks pretty much nothing like their mobile version. What is apparent though is their branding is similar throughout, and that's probably more of the important part than anything else. So your website does not have to be, or app or anything else that you do, does not have to be the exact same on all the different platforms. You do want to make sure that there is elements of similarity, so it's not really complicated to get to something. Your navigation should pretty much be fairly consistent, maybe not the way it's designed, but the flow of how to get to elements are fairly consistent. But the design itself, I don't think it is really that pertinent to be, the exact same. And that's why we have a lot of things like mobile responsive layouts now, where you can really tailor them for different types of devices and different layouts. For instance, not that I'm a keen lover of them anyway, but pop-ups are a lot easier to manage on a website than they are on mobile apps, and they take up a hell of too much room on a mobile app. So it's some things you want to consider about how things are laid out. Similar, you might have on your website where there's a really, really key like focal image on the left side, and then on the right-hand side there is text to keep it clear. Whereas on the phone, you don't have the same option for real estate. So you might want to either move the image above it, or if it's not relevant, it's there just for fill, then maybe just remove it completely on mobile devices. So there's a lot of different things you can do for, the websites on different types of, platforms and browser types. There is some overarching rules within certain browsers, which kind of force some elements to be different. So I'm thinking on things like Google Chrome, it'll put like a blue tint around login forms or form fields, which you might not want. Now there is ways to change it. It's just different rules within CSS designs, but they are very niche to the different browsers. So you'd have to be making sure you kind of combat all of those if you want those changes. And a lot of testing to be done really on different browsers to make sure it fits on all the models. And then the same going through the different screen size resolutions as well, and making sure you feel it's still consistent. But I wouldn't say you need to keep the design the same. You can make it quite different, You just want to make sure your brand and identity is pretty clear, and the way you would move around things is fairly consistent as well.
Yeah, like you want to look at it as, I don't know how many times I've done it. I might be on LinkedIn on my computer, but then I might pull up my phone and put LinkedIn on my phone, and the design is slightly different, but the brand is consistent. And having that brand consistency, even through, as we were mentioning, content creation, is really going to help you with creating a more trusted sort of experience, make yourself more consistent, and people start to remember you that way. Your apps, obviously, as Mike has said, are super limited in your real estate. So again, moving content out of there that you don't really need, that's maybe filler. Maybe, some apps are completely different from the website because they're doing a different functionality. Our thing is the brand and the message. So really you need to think about how your audience is going to use it. Is it likely to be more mobile? Then maybe you want to put your focus on mobile, and a lot of the time you're going to be looking at about 80% of traffic being on mobile. Then you're going to want to look at your desktop. Now, tablet, we can always predetermine a design for tablets, but I can tell you it never really works. So you're best doing the mobile and the desktop, and then you do the tablet design to make sure that things are working properly. There is a lower audience rate on a tablet. However, people still use it, so you still need to design for that as well. So really you need to have a good idea of your audience, figure out how you want it all to flow, and just keep your brand consistent.
Yeah.
Cool. So, on to the next question. How do you plan and create content?
I don't plan and create any content.
No.
I'm gonna pass that over to Amy completely.
So we mentioned previously about having those 4 pillars or those 4 cornerstones content. What you want to do is make sure that all content that you put out has some kind of relevance to one of those 4 points. There's things like days of the year. So there might be like Valentine's Day, so you could put up a really nice Valentine's Day post. Maybe there's one that I love, which is International Donut Eating Day, and you can have a bit of fun with that, but you always want to make sure that there's some relevance. If you're trying to do sales of a product, then you want to make sure that in every bit of content that you do has some kind of sales call to action to it, because you can fill it up with all the nice images that you like and all the text. If you don't have a call to action that is just purely sales, then people aren't going to really pay attention. And to plan content, it really depends on your audience as well. You need to look at the insights. We do have a YouTube video that we have done that talks about data and insights and how you can use that. And we also have a YouTube video, which is a free learning video on idea generation, which can help you, again, create that content. All of that's for free and can be accessed on our YouTube channel. So keep it short and sweet. Figure out when your audience are online, what days and times, what content is relevant to you, so what is covering those 4 points, and have a bit of fun. Is basically all I can say on that one.
I would also add, that's for more of the social media elements.
Yeah.
If we think and we roll back a little bit to our last question regarding content, the last question regarding, is content important for websites? We can also talk about things like blog posts or updates. So for these ones, for instance, you might want to, similar to doing the social media parts, do research within different parts that would support your website, whether that's looking at competitors and what's driving their traffic within their blog posts, or what you think your people or your users, your potential clients would be looking for, and creating blog posts within that area. You want to try and make sure your blog posts haven't got a short time frame on them. So this is where you probably wouldn't do posts about Valentine's Day, unless you were in a world where your requirements were Valentine's Day based. So we're thinking about chocolates or something like that. But if your brand isn't a requirement for that kind of event, then I probably wouldn't use anything for Valentine's Day. But you want to look at your industry and make sure you've got content that is consistent and also can be there for quite some time. It's classified as what they call as evergreen content. So have a look at that, and then probably look at some blog posts, do some research, find out what people are looking for, and make it relevant to your audience.
Yeah, there's a great tool called Answer the Public. So say that you are a pet shop owner and you want to figure out how to sell to that audience. If you go on to Answer the Public, it's a free tool. You get some free searches a day. You can put in pet owners and see what they're searching. What they're searching is literally them telling you what they need answers for. So don't think that you can just come up with the answers on the spot. Do your research and find out what people are wanting to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we already mentioned SEO on the blogs and how that helps. That takes us into a question that made me chuckle a little bit, which is, can SEO be done without a website?
Yes. SEO can be done without a website. I wouldn't advise it because it's going to be harder to be able to draw content. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. Search engines do not just search for websites. So if you look at Google, you can find the times for the next bus, or where directions, or you can search for local restaurants that might not have a website. All those things are on different search engines. So you do not need a website to rank within SEO. It'll be in a different section, but they're in there. We look at things like Facebook as a key example within your social media parts. So you could easily run a business through your Facebook system. If you connect a shop to it as well, you can also then look at reconnecting those to things like Google Shops. And if you were searching on Google for shopping items, then it can also pull it from Google and search engines as well. Search engine optimization can also be things for like YouTube. So if I was being a lot more active within my YouTube area, I actually want to rank within YouTube search, not within Google's or Yahoo's or Bing's or wherever else we want to go down. So you can do SEO without utilizing a website. There's tons of ways to look at doing that, and it's very tailored within the different types of platform that you want to really grow for.
Yeah.
Websites are easy because you have a lot more room to create pages. You can create things like backlinks and referring domains. You can create a huge amount of things to support places. Whereas things like on Facebook, there's a lot of private areas which Google or crawlers can't access. So yeah, can it be done? Yes, it can be done. It is going to be a little bit harder if you are trying to run anything that's quite specific. If you're just doing YouTube videos and that is your career, then you probably don't need a website. It might be helpful, but you're probably not going to grow your audience through Google search engines. You probably do it through things like YouTube or other kind of similar gaming or video platforms. So that's what I would say. But yeah, tailor it for the relevant parts. But it all comes down to very similar elements in terms of has it got the right keywords? Has it got the right messages? Has it got the right imagery and branding to entice? All those things.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're on YouTube, you want to have a nice thumbnail to draw the attention. Maybe you want to have a title that's completely wacky. This is called clickbait, which, let's be honest, whenever we've been on YouTube, a lot of us fall for clickbait because we want to know what it is. On top of that, in YouTube, you've got tags. Now, these tags can be really useful because you can put how to in it. You can put the specific things that you're covering in a video. And if someone say you're an accountant and you put how to do accounting, and in the tags you put how to in accounting, then it's more likely that you'll show up in a search for anyone who's looking for that. But again, you still need to be covering the correct topics, so it still needs to be relevant for you to actually grow that audience. Because if I'm looking for how to do accounting and I go on your video and it's got nothing to do with that, then I'm going to be clicking off pretty much straight away. You're still going to have to do your research. Each keyword for each platform is completely different. So for Facebook, you've got some hashtags that you can be looking at. However, those change regularly, and Facebook's algorithm changes regularly on how they want you to work and use the platform. So you're always going to be fighting something with social media that is out of your control, much like SEO on search engines, but it's less volatile. I feel it's less volatile because I've worked with the social media platforms, and I swear to God, it seems to change every week what's going to be working for you. And that's just the nature of the platforms. Another thing to consider as well is relying on YouTube, Facebook, these kind of things for your business can be very risky because you do not own that.
Yeah.
Whereas you will own your website, and your website can stay static and it can be there. You're not going to be worrying about third-party updates or things like that that could damage your business.
Anyway, just not that I usually like to do this. Just crack on without me a minute because my son's school's phone. I just need to double check on what's going on.
No problem.
Give me a sec.
Anyway, so yes, SEO can be done without a website, but you are putting a lot of risk out there. So if you're running, say, sales, we saw that Facebook and Instagram, I think it was last year, had a major outage. And that was where if you didn't have a website, you were losing sales. You were losing traction because there was an issue outside of your control. Whereas with website, yes, you've still got some outside of your control issues with servers, but those can usually be fixed quite quickly if you've got the right team behind you. So yeah, please consider, if you are wanting to go without a website, the risks that come with it. So what other ones can I answer? You know what? I'm just going to go on and on about things until he comes back. So what has E2E been doing lately? Well, we have been working on white label projects, which are where we work with different companies to support them in their development. If you've got a web developer, maybe they're not too in tune with coding languages, we can come in and help and take things to the next level. If you have a social media strategy and you just don't have the time to put it together, don't have the time to do the graphics, come and talk to us because we'll take care of that for you as well. So now that I've been blabbering on and trying to promote us, we will go back to our questions.
We would, but we're going to have to wrap up early, I'm afraid.
Fair enough.
Okay. And hopefully we can again pick it up next Thursday. If anyone does have any other questions that we've missed, please do just pick them up and we'll see if we can answer them directly for now. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to finish up a bit earlier today because my son's feeling unwell, so I need to go pick him up from school. So
that is life.
It is. So that's going to be myself today. Hopefully, you've at least found the first few questions helpful, and tune in next week as well at 11 o'clock on Thursday, and then we'll see from more. We did have a suggestion, Ailey, whether we can, because this system doesn't pre-support us having URLs or links to provide to people. One of the suggestions is that if we can start it maybe 10-15 minutes early with some prelude music or coming soon kind of information, so we can generate links and send it out to some relevant people before the start of the event to give them a bit of a nudge. Then we could look at doing that. Sound good?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, and make sure you come back next week and we will have more questions, answering your questions. And in the meantime, if you need support with your websites, your content creation, SEO, or maybe you're just wanting to do something absolutely insane and unique, get in touch. Okay?
Sounds good. Bye everyone.